What is up, YouTubers? Johnza here, and welcome to another episode of Zawcasters. Now, my voice might be different than how it was at least the previous 3 videos, but it's just that today I'm going to be trying without a mic today. I'm just going to go straight up iPad voice since, well, the thing is, normally when I've edited the previous 3, I am so loud. I am legit very, very loud on that case. I literally had to turn down my audio to I think it was 10 or 20. Yeah, it was a lot. It was much. But yeah, just testing out at least for this today, I guess. And maybe tomorrow too, since in this case I'm going to be recording a podcast just for when I'm as I am recording right now, I only have enough time to record one for today and one for tomorrow as of recording this, so, I mean, for you guys, it's gonna be next week anyways, so, but we'll see how things roll, and if, if I find this voice, or audio better than the other one, then I'll just keep using this from now on and not use the mic. But, yeah. Another thing before we get started with the podcast, so this is the day of, when Indie World, it's, Indie World for Nintendo, they had their Direct literally today, which is April 19th, and one of the things I found very interesting, I mean, it's not really too surprising, but, still, apparently, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is now on the Switch. It literally just became available today, which is very interesting. I don't know if I'm ever going to really play it on my main channel, if anything, but I just thought I thought it was interesting to mention that, especially since I know how the game ran. I mean, I never actually played the game myself. I've watched other people play it, but I could see how buggy it can be in some points. And also with the file size, because when people downloaded it onto their computer, I'm pretty sure they said it was wasn't it 80 gigabytes? So I'm very curious on how much gigabytes it takes to download Security Breach on your Switch. That I'm very curious about in the future, but yeah. Anyways, I don't even know what we're going to be talking about today. Let's see what the wheel says. The wheel has spoken, and it says Pokepark. It was close to Detroit Become Human, but we'll talk about that another day. So Pokepark. Ooh, I get to talk about these games. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while anyways. Actually, let me get rid of Pokepark on the list then, so I don't have to... Oh, it's literally number 1 on the list. I can't really get rid... Okay, I'll worry about that later, I guess. I'll just keep it there and just remember that Pokepark is something I can deal with later. It's just I have a wheel, right? And normally it allows you to at least have 2 options, but you can't get rid of those 2 specific options. So you kind of have to leave them there. So it's a little bit annoying, but I'll work on that later. But yeah, Pokepark. Wow. So these are games that were made long ago. I think in the span of 2010 to 12, I'm pretty sure. Because I think I remember on my 12th birthday, I think that's when they stopped doing it. But I think it was on my 12th birthday, I think I got Pokepark 2. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's when it ended. So we haven't had another Pokepark game in 10 years. That's insane. But I should probably explain what the game is. Basically, it's a 3D kind of I don't think it's really much of a platformer. It's a bit of an open world kind of thing where you just kind of go to these different regions and you make friends with some Pokemon, which you also, you have a group of friends you kind of deal with in both games. And basically, you're trying to save the Pokepark from imminent danger, whether it be a giant floating island that's going to crash onto the Pokepark, or a dark vortex that's going to swallow the entire Pokepark. And how do we solve these problems? Oh, why? By the power of friendship. I can't speak. By the power of friendship is what it's used to solve. Yeah, no joke. You literally have to just become friends with as many Pokemon as you can to save the world. Yeah. Obviously, you don't have to befriend like every single Pokemon in the game, but obviously, like befriending a lot of these Pokemon does help you like get through the game at some points. And that's basically like the gameplay of both games. And there are specific mini games that you can. Well, I guess. I mean, I'm not going into the mini games, but like I'm talking about the skill games. Yeah, that's what they're called. There's skill games in the Pokepark, which you can play against other Pokemon to become friends with them. So there's the classic one, which is Chase, which is well known between like so many of the Pokemon in Pokepark. There's Hide and Seek, where you just have to find the Pokemon who's hiding. Some of them in very not very hidden spots. And there's also battling, which is nice, so you get to fight off against some Pokemon too, and you do get to level up your stats at some point, but we'll get to that later. Um, there are other ones. There's a quiz where where a Pokemon gets to ask you some specific questions, and then you answer, and then they become your friend. Uh, and the other skill game is a platformer where you have to jump to platform to reach the other Pokemon. Which, funny enough, I think for that one, I think that's only in Pokepark 1, the platforming one, and I'm pretty sure there's only 3 Pokemon that play that game with you in the entire game. Everyone else, like, well, I mean, I think Quiz, there's not as many in both games, but at least they're in both games. But yeah. But as you play these games to become friends, like obviously when you beat the Pokemon in that skill game, they become your friend, and normally they give you berries, which that is your currency in the game, and you get to go and I can't speak. You get to go and upgrade your stats, which could help you. Well, the major stats, I guess, they're more helpful for either battling or chase in general because you can upgrade your speed, you can upgrade your special ability, which obviously your Pikachu in these 2 games. So you get to learn Thunderbolt, or well, I mean you already know Thunderbolt. By I mean you get to upgrade Thunderbolt. You get to learn Iron Tail, which well at least in the first game you pretty much already have Iron Tail in the second game, but like. Yeah, and then I guess there's like a dash combo attack or HP. No, yeah, there's HP as well. So just some like small stat stuff you can bump up, and yeah, it's definitely a very interesting game as you just kind of go around, make whatever friends you can. And let's see, I guess what I can talk about, I think I can start kind of branching off into the 2 separate games because there are differences between both games, obviously. Um, so basically, for the first one, you have your pals, which are Piplup, Chikorita, and Charmander, which you end up in the Pokepark thanks to Mew, and Mew is asking for help because the Sky Pavilion, I actually don't know, I can't pronounce that word, but apparently it's fallen where you have to go around the Pokepark and find some prism pieces. And pretty much where these prism pieces are with every single Pokemon that has a certain minigame, because there are minigames within Pokepark, and with those, you pretty much do like a specific minigame, and you can play as like a bunch of other Pokemon as well in these certain minigames. And well, they're not unlocked right away. What you have to do to unlock them, to play them in those minigames, is to obviously befriend them. So that's one of the benefits, of course, to becoming friends with them, because Pikachu's not good enough to get a certain clear time. Because obviously to get this prism piece from these, I guess I could call their mini games are called attractions. So like once you clear an attraction, the leader of the attraction will give you the prism piece, and a lot of the times Pikachu isn't skilled enough to actually complete this certain task, so he has to go find some stronger friends that are better at this mini game, so he can get the prison piece. So once again, friendship conquers all. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, with some Pokemon as well, they might ask you for a few favors as well, like either moving items and berries or something like that. And I think some of them, like at least in the first game, there's what am I gonna say? I'm losing my train of thought. I hate when that happens when you lose your train of thought. Right. Okay, I remember now. It's in the first game. All the Eevee evolutions you encounter, they won't try to friend you until you have a certain amount of friends, which is insane. So, but yeah, you basically go around the Pokepark with your friends and all. Obviously, you also have to look for Chikorita, Piplup, and Charmander along the way because you got separated as you were entering the Pokepark. And of course, one of the last friends you have to make before saving the entire Pokepark is Mew. So, you know, the one who sent you off in this quest doesn't decide to be your friend right away. You have to play 3 different mini games. You have to play Hopscotch, which the platforming game. So actually, that's 4 Pokemon now that I think about it. You get to do 3 separate battles where he becomes like Garchomp, Tyranitar, and Magmortar, which, funny enough, with those 3 specific Pokemon as well in that game, you will not be able to encounter those 3 Pokemon until you beat the main game. Like, you can try to befriend every single Pokemon in the Pokepark before finishing the game, except for those 3 Pokemon, which is very interesting. Yeah, and then finally you do the last classic game of Chase with Mew, so... yeah, and then with that, Pokepark saved, and yeah. There were also some codes for the first Pokepark game to have some specific stuff, like you can have, there's some specific Pokemon that you can like have appear in the Pokepark, which I think there's like Jirachi, Celebi, Groudon, and Darkrai, and you can play mini games with them. You can play like skill games with them, but they won't be your friends like right away. There is actually a certain thing after post game or in post game where you have to get everyone's bonus time. So basically, like in each attraction, you know how I was saying, like you can play as like multiple Pokemon and get a certain score. Obviously, in that case, you have to get everyone's bonus score to befriend a certain extra legend or mostly legendary. Some of them are pseudo legendaries, but like there's legendaries you could befriend, and basically they won't be your friend. They will not be your friend until you get everyone else's bonuses, and then you can like play as them in that certain mini game as well. So like for instance, well, I mean Mew won't really count for the first one because okay, so for the first one it's like Bulbasaur's During Dash, and Mew's already your friend, so that's already out of the window for that one. But I think for the next one, there's like Venusaur's Vine Swing, which I believe you befriend Jirachi after getting everyone's bonuses. So yeah, and they won't even appear in like the list of Pokemon until after the post game, which is interesting. And you might be also wondering, how do I even get some of these certain Pokemon when because there are like some certain mini games that Pikachu cannot do, like in general, but he is in the list for all of the mini games. There were also some codes as well for Pikachu to be able to play these mini games, which you can put in a code for balloons, a surfboard, and a snowboard for some certain mini games. At least 4 of them. Well, balloons are used for 2, and then the water surfboard and the snowboard for the other 2. So. Yeah, in reality, without those codes, which you can easily find online too, so if you want to like play the game and you want to try to make friends with everyone, don't worry, the codes are out there online. So if you ever were interested in playing the game yourself and wanted to befriend every Pokemon, you still can. You just have to look up the codes and you're all good. But yeah, without the codes, technically you cannot befriend all the Pokemon. So glad the internet's here. But yeah, is that everything for the first game? I think so. But yeah, you mostly just play as Pikachu for the entire game too. Like the only time you play other Pokemon are just in the attractions and everything. And I think there's like 14 separate attractions, and there's nice variety in there. I guess I could talk about the different zones too. Um, there's some that have like multiple zones. Well, I mean, I guess there's like four branching areas, kind of, and some of them have multiple zones. I think I can actually remember them all off the top of my head. There's the Meadow Zone, the first zone you enter. There's the Meeting Place, which is the, I guess, main central area for you and your pals, and where you can upgrade your stats too. There's the Beach and Iceberg Zone, which is kind of the second area you go through. The Cavern and Lava Zone. There's the Haunted Zone. There's also the Granite Zone, I think I want to call it. Granite Zone's like it's like an ancient ruin kind of area, and then there's the Flower Zone, which is the last area in the game before the Sky Pavilion. I guess I don't know how to pronounce it. But yeah, those are the separate. Those are the amount of areas within the game, which pretty good. And of course, with this, the Pokemon you can befriend are like in between Gen 1 and 4, since that was around the time when the first Pokepark game came out. But then there was Pokepark 2. Now we get to talk about this one. With this one, this came out pretty much around when Gen 5 was happening, so there's that. And basically, this one also really piqued my interest. So I know there was a danger with the Dark Vortex, but that doesn't get mentioned till later on. You do get well, I mean, not you as the character, but like there is an opening cutscene with Reshiram and Zekrom, so that's something. But yeah, you meet up with Piplup once again. You go to the new Pokepark. Well, I don't know if they really counted as new, but like, yeah. Technically, also this Pikachu and Piplup are the same ones as the last game, I think. And basically, you enter the Pokepark, you hear about this Wish Park as well, going through like a certain poster portal, and basically it turns into a cake cult. But yeah, basically the gist of it is, I guess the person who owns Wish Park, or I guess is the ruler of it, is trying to keep Pokemon in Wish Park forever. Like, they're trying to bring every single Pokemon into Wish Park and let them play there forever. And they're, like, hypnotizing them to stay there, pretty much. So it's up to you and your pals to save the day by ringing all the Wish Bells in each of the Wish Bell zones, which there's the Cake Zone, the Dance Zone, I want to say. There's the Power Zone, and the Flight Zone. So yeah, and funny enough, there's only 4 attractions this time in the second Pokepark. I mean, obviously you don't really have to collect anything from these, but they are required to get through the game and everything. And really, there's like boss fights in there too, which is nice. But basically, yeah, you start off in the Beach Zone and everything. And also, the one thing I found very interesting about the second Pokepark game is that you don't get to just play as Pikachu. You also get to play as Oshawott, Snivy, and Tepig. Actually, funny enough, when I first started playing the game, I didn't think you could actually. I mean, I figured you could like at least hang out with like Oshawott, Snivy, and Tepig at the different zones and everything, like the first game did with Piplup, Chikorita, and Charmander. But no, you get to actually play as these characters too. It does say it on the box, but I wasn't really much on reading back in the day, so. And I don't even think I looked at the back to even realize. So when I was first Oshawott, I was like, oh, I get to play as other Pokemon. I really just realized it was just the 4 once I probably like saw Snivy, and I'm like, okay, it's probably just gonna have us just have Pikachu in the Gen 5 starters. Because I was like looking at Axio and I was like, oh, please tell me I could be you too. But yeah. And funny enough, I think they took out like a lot of Pokemon from the first game, and I think they switched those with some of the Gen 5, probably because Gen 5 was more of a thing back then. So, but yeah, that was one of the interesting things. But the one downfall, I guess, is for some of the attractions too, is you only get to play as your 4 main characters, which is Pikachu, Oshawott, Snivy, and Tepig. So that's a little bit of a downer, but not too bad. But yeah, and funny enough, the area keepers are literally the final evolutions of these certain Pokemon, and and funny enough, for their special like abilities, like I guess Pikachu's like Thunderbolt and Oshawott Water Gun and everything like that, like their certain specific skills or whatever. Um, they have technically a teacher, like their own separate teachers for those. Like it's pretty much their evolved forms, pretty much. Like it would be Raichu, Dewott, Servine, and Pignite, pretty much. And then you also have like Audino and Blitzel for HP and speed, which is interesting as well. But yeah, you still kind of have most of the same like mini games too. So yeah. Uh, so yeah, basically, I guess there. I can't speak. There are generally like four areas that are um, introduced into the game. I mean, they have their own like zone names, but like I think I would go with more of the area name of them. So there would be like the Cove Zone, the Arbor Zone. I think that's what it was. The well, no, there's the Tech Zone. That's the last one. What was the third one? I don't know. I know the third one had more like fighting fire Pokemon in it, and then like a wintry area in there too. So, very interesting. Let's see, what else can I even talk about this game? I guess to talk about the Dark Vortex. So I guess I could say the main villain of the story is Darkrai, and which is funny enough because he becomes an unlockable character in the first game with one of the codes, as I mentioned before. And of course, you can't befriend him until post game, which is funny. Um, but yeah, he's the main baddie of this. And basically, what he didn't realize is by not ringing the wish bells, he brought the Dark Vortex to Pokepark and Wish Park, and is gonna like suck all of Pokepark and Wish Park into it. So basically, at the end, the entire Wish Park combines together. Well, pretty much where all these different zones are, like they're kind of like spaced out apart, like on different islands, and then they kind of centered all together to go to the Wish Palace, where oh yeah, I forgot to mention Piplup gets kidnapped, by the way. Or literally at the beginning of the game, he gets kidnapped and stays in Wish Park. So it's up to you to save Piplup. But yeah, after you reach that, you realize Piplup is hypnotized, and you have to stop or snap him out of it. But then after that, I like I'm just talking about the entire plot at this point. But yeah, Darkrai shows up, erases your friend's memories, and then you have to go and reconnect their memories, pretty much. Which, honestly, I mean, I think it's interesting to have them like leave you for a minute, just because they like lost their memory, and of course you have to like refight them and everything. But like, I don't know, it's just the fact that it happens, and then you immediately just get them right away, like back again. So funny thing is, like after your friends like lose their memory, you can't use like the Driftblim rides. I never actually mentioned that as well. The Driftblim rides, you can use to get to different areas like quickly in the game. So like, say you're in one zone and it takes like two other zones to get to another zone. You can literally use Driftblim ride to get to there. But yeah, I guess because the Dark Vortex is getting more big and scary or whatever, they're like, yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna fly right now. But yeah, you also run into a Pokemon named Reuniclus, which has the solution to stopping the Dark Vortex as well, which he brings a sphere. Well, after you beat Darkrai once and for all, you find out that the Dark Vortex is about to swallow up everything. Reuniclus and Piplup, who was freed after the unhypnotizing. So yeah, Reuniclus brings the ball, and then pretty much what you and your pals have to do is ring the wish bells simultaneously at the same time to get it active. And yeah, someone has to sacrifice themselves to bring it into the Dark Vortex, and Darkrai volunteered to do it so. So yeah, that's the main plot. And of course, the post game, you have to like try to find a way to get Darkrai back. You end up being friends with the legendary weather trio, Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus. And you also get to be friends with Zekrom and Reshiram, which you do need to do to bring Darkrai back. So, yeah. And funny enough, it doesn't take, like, you can be friends with almost every Pokemon besides Darkrai and I guess the whole Gothitelle line, because there's the Gothitelle line, like Gothitelle, Gothorita, and Gothita. They're like close henchmen with Darkrai, and they will not be friends with you until after the post game. So, yeah, like Darkrai and those three are pretty much the only ones you can't make friends with towards the end of the game. So, yeah, very interesting. But yeah, it's just basically a game about making friends. Oh yeah, a reason why making friends is a good idea in this game. I haven't mentioned that. But basically, to get into these portal posters, to get into Wish Park, you have to have enough friendship, I guess, to open the portal, like the poster portal. And what you have to do, since it was also a Wii game back then, you had to like shake the Wii remote like a bunch, and yeah, and obviously the gauge will go up a lot faster the more friends you have. So, and even with some specific type of friends, like I think one was like if you have more flying friends, if you have big friends, small friends. So yeah. But yeah, those are the two games. I don't know if I've missed anything between them. It's kind of hard to talk about both games. But yeah, I don't know. I do kind of like them both equally. They obviously are nostalgic to me because I played them as I was a kid. But yeah, and funny enough, playing through like Pokepark 2 the first time as well, it only took me 2 days to get through the main game. Like it took me a while after to complete the post game and everything because I didn't know where to exactly go. But yeah, with the main story, I pretty much got that done with like within 2 days. Like I think I was already done the Arbor area, which is I guess the halfway point of the game, kind of. Like pretty much right after I got Snivy, pretty much, and yeah. And then I did the rest, which getting Tepig and then beating the rest of the game afterwards. I do gotta say, like, playing as different Pokemon in both these games, I feel like they're both kind of even with each other, if that makes sense. Because in the first game, you only get to play as Pikachu, but you get to play as many other Pokemon in these specific mini-games. But in the other game, you get to play as Pikachu, Oshawott, Snivy, and Tepig anywhere you want, but those are the only Pokemon you get to play in the mini-games, so yeah. And especially since there's also like not that many attraction games either, so yeah. But basically a game all about friendship. Ah, man, I don't even know what else to talk about for Pokepark. I enjoyed them because they were nostalgic and everything. I feel like people might like the first one better, probably because of the variety of Pokemon as well. Like, honestly, like some of my favorite Pokemon are in Gen 4, and they did take quite a bit of them out in the second game. So, I mean, hell, we didn't even get Charmander and Chikorita back. What'd they do? Just stay in the meeting place while Pikachu and Piplup went off to the new Pokepark? Like, what the hell? Man. I would honestly like a Pokepark 3, and it could happen at any time, but I'm not sure. I mean, thing is, they haven't made one in over a decade, so I don't know. I don't know if they will do it again for the Switch. I can see it working with the Switch, especially since for the first two Pokeparks, you literally just used a Wiimote. Like there was no nunchuck. You couldn't even use a GameCube controller. I think it was just all a Wii remote game. And there were a lot of like motion controls for that game too, which I can see that happening for this, since you know with the Joy-Cons and everything. So, I mean, it's possible, but who knows? I would like to have see one. See one. I would like a Pokepark 3 maybe someday, but I don't know. There's still some of those Pokepark fans who are like, "Where's Pokepark 3?" I mean, hell, I mean with Pokemon Snap. they, like, well, it was like a few years ago they brought out the new Pokemon Snap game. Like, the original Pokemon Snap, that came out, like, around the era of the Nintendo 64. And, of course, hasn't been brought up again since the Switch now, so, yeah. I mean, if that's possible, anything's possible. And I'm still hoping for a DK64 remake, or something in that regards. Going a little off topic there. But we're pretty much at the half an hour point into this podcast, so yeah. I feel like I was rambling on about what the games were about. I never actually told my interests in it. I will say I did enjoy the games pretty much as a kid, and just kind of going back nostalgic-wise, it's fun. Especially in my case, every time I replay the games, I normally just try to befriend any Pokemon I can at that specific time. And even try to befriend all the certain Pokemon I can before ending the game. So, pretty fun game. I mean, I don't know, if you're interested in that type of game, then I'd recommend. Well, I mean, if you have a Wii. I mean, you might have to first get a Wii and then get the other two games, but, But anyways, that's going to cut it for this podcast episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys like this video or podcast, press the like button or subscribe to whatever. And I'll see you dudes in the next episode. See you dudes next time.